In any event, she's obviously an incredible star. She's totally revitalized interest. Well, I mean, vitalized interest in the WNBA in a way it never was before.
Okay, let's cut through all of the chatter and stories. The WNBA is trembling after Megyn Kelly revealed their anti-Caitlin Clark scheme, and it's much worse than we initially believed.
Came in and is getting all this attention. Nobody disputes that she's an amazing basketball player, but still they seem resentful and angry toward her. And it's resulted in physical alterations on the court that don't get called as fouls, that the girls then deny were intentional. And Caitlin Clark always takes the high road. She never, points the finger.
The figures are honest. In this video, we'll examine whether this is merely a coincidence or if there is more to it than meets the eye. Something is wrong with women's basketball, and we're going to blow the lid off the whole thing. Did the WNBA just fumble a bag? Before we break it down, please remember to subscribe to the channel. Clark is bringing in 3 times as many viewers, but the WNBA is treating her like a nobody. In fact, I'm talking about fouls that would make the NHL look like it's pickleball and a marketing strategy that acts as though Clark doesn't even exist.
So she goes for the ball, and then look, she points her hand down after the play, after the ball is past this player from the Sun. And it seems very clear she bends her fingers into Caitlin's eyes. There it is. She could pull her hand away. She didn't. And Caitlin had a black eye, and it was not called as a foul. And then she was seen celebrating on the sideline and laughing with a teammate.
Let's face it, the WNBA just cannot manage in a league accustomed to being disregarded. Caitlin Clark is like a walking highlight reel, and it's driving them insane. Clark's arrival was supposed to be this momentous occasion, right? Everyone assumed she would save women's basketball, draw large crowds, and finally spark conversation about the WNBA. Well, guess what she's doing is all of that, but the league seems intent on ruining her life. Instead, she's being knocked around like a pinball outside, with elbows, trips, and collisions that appear to be as unintentional as a car crash in a demolition derby, and the referees acting as though they forgot their whistles at home. Consider the matchup with the Connecticut Sun. The referees stand there as if it were a Sunday picnic, no foul, no nothing, and Dee Carrington has the audacity to claim, "I didn't even know I hit her actually," even though Clark has a black eye from Carrington's fingernails.
That looked intentional, right? Typically when somebody does get hit in the face or you're trying to block something, you don't put your fingers down like that. Your hand swipes and maybe your hand makes contact with their face. We see this in basketball all the time. It's intentional foul. Somebody tries to block somebody shooting a layup and they hit him in the back of the head or on the face, and that ends up being a flagrant 1 or flagrant 2, depending on how they call it.
The figures are honest. The WNBA ought to be celebrating Clark since her games draw an average of 1.18 million viewers, which is 3 times as many as the other leagues. Instead, they treat her as though she is the enemy. Megyn Kelly was spot on when she said that Clark's situation is so bad that the league is allowing the bullying to go unchecked. It's not only unfair, it's just plain dumb. They have a superstar on their hands who has the potential to elevate the WNBA to new heights, and they're treating her like a problem that needs to be fixed.
So the fact that they're attacking her just shows you the WNBA continues to drop the ball on this whole issue. They got given the greatest gift of all time.
Here's something pretty crazy. The greatest irony is that the league, who have this golden goose laying viewing eggs left and right, can't even bring themselves to use Clark's face on their promotional materials while she's out there getting swatted on the court. It's as if they're allergic to success. Clark aspires to play in the WNBA and wants the league to be successful. The WNBA is hurting itself, and they don't even seem to realize it. They've been pleading for more viewers and respect for years, and now they have it all wrapped up in the form of Caitlin Clark, and they're acting as though it's a curse rather than a blessing. Clark is demonstrating that women's basketball can be a powerhouse if played and officiated properly. I understand. Although change is difficult, this isn't simply change. This is Clark's progression. Team basketball can be an exciting, cheerful, and engaging sport. Clark is demonstrating the potential of women's basketball, but the WNBA is refusing to accept it. This is pitiful and will cost them dearly. Let's be clear for a moment. If they don't wake up and smell the coffee, nobody is requesting preferential treatment. Instead, Everyone is requesting fair treatment, calling things as they are, and appropriate officiating so that players and fans can concentrate on the game rather than the extracurricular activities.
And you use the word vitalize because you're right. You can't revitalize something that was never vitalized, but the WNBA has totally failed in whether it's not putting on the Olympic team, not using her in promotions, being hesitant to put her at the forefront of the league. I think the WNBA has missed a huge opportunity, and the only reason, Megyn, that we're talking about it and you're talking about the WNBA is because of Caitlin.
We're watching this circus unfold on one side, with Caitlin Clark breaking 62 records and drawing record crowds, and on the other, a league that seems intent on ruining its own future. It's like watching a car crash in slow motion, and I can't help but think that the WNBA needs to quickly realize that Clark isn't the plague. She's their ticket to the big time. If you've made it this far and are enjoying the video, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications. We understand that watching this takes up some of your time, and we appreciate you. But let's get back to the action.
Clark is the vehicle that will bring this sport that I have loved so much and so long to little 5-year-old girls playing in Harlem. I say yes, bravo. I have no problem with that. I do think that there is a thing called pretty privilege.
This is where things start to go horribly wrong. Some people claim that this is just the way the league is, and that Clark and her supporters simply cannot cope. Are you serious? The WNBA has been cruising along with their own unique style of play and culture for almost 30 years, and then all of a sudden this phenomenon appears, takes center stage, and leaves everyone in shock. There are people using phrases like pretty privilege as if they're becoming outdated and unpleasant.
My expectation is to be one of the best players in the world one day. I wouldn't expect anything less than that.
More history for the FIBA rookie.
At this point, continue to be myself, and I think a lot of good will come from that.
Even Sonny Horton got involved in this mess by claiming that Clark is more relatable because of who she is. Can you believe this nonsense? She actually said, "I do think that there is a thing called pretty privilege. I do think that she is more relatable to more people. Give me a break." And now we've got some of these veteran players acting like Clark's success somehow erases them. It's ridiculous, but guess what? Clark didn't ask for this drama. She's just out there balling. Clark introduced a level of skill never seen in the NBA, exposing the league's shortcomings both on and off the court. Her performances are hitting all-time highs, affecting millions of fans, both new and old, and raising awareness of the sport like no one has ever had before. That's not privilege. That's talent, but the league is acting as though she's the issue rather than accepting it.
When you went and kind of swatted at Caitlin, did you intend to hit her in the eye? And if so, could you just, or if not, either way, could you talk about what happened on that play?
And poor Clark, she's caught in the middle of this mess, just trying to play ball. She's never complained even when she's sporting a black eye from a totally accidental hit. The WNBA had a golden opportunity handed to them on a silver platter, and they're fumbling it like a greased football instead of celebrating Clark's success. And using it to lift the entire league, they're letting petty jealousies and ridiculous accusations of privilege tear everything apart. It's a masterclass in how to shoot yourself in the foot. And the WNBA is doing it with both eyes wide open. You'd think the WNBA would take a breather from their self-sabotage tour. Want to know how deep this rabbit hole of incompetence goes? You won't believe the garbage the WNBA is trying to sell us about this Clark situation. It's like they're living in an alternate reality where up is down and common sense is a foreign concept after respected journalist Christine Brennan did her job asking the tough questions to DJ Carrington. The league went into full panic mode, and boy, was it a sight to behold.
I don't even know why I would intend to hit anybody in the eye. That doesn't even make sense to me, but no, I didn't. I didn't know I hit her, actually. I was trying to make a play on the ball, and I guess I followed through and I hit her, so obviously it's never intentional. That's not even like the type of player that I am.
They are attempting to portray reporters as the villains for raising questions, rather than dealing with the genuine problems. Isn't it crazy that the WNBA Players Association is accusing reporters of biased reporting? They're deploying accusations more quickly than Caitlin Clark can make a three-point shot and discussing a desperate Hail Mary pass.
right? You can talk all you want, you can do this, but sooner or later you have to respect somebody's game. And the way Caitlin Clark plays basketball has to be respected. And sooner or later, the dam is going to break. In the WNBA, what matters more, money or your feelings?
But hold on, things will get even better. It seems like they are managing a middle school drama club rather than a professional sports league, and they are threatening to withhold credentials from reporters who dare to inquire about Clark's treatment and thin-skinned. Will they then begin issuing detentions to anyone who offends them? Clark, on the other hand, is out here taking the high road without grumbling. She doesn't say a word and lets her game speak for itself, and it speaks for itself. The WNBA believes that if they yell unfairly loud enough, we will all forget what's actually happening. They're acting as though all of their problems will magically go away if they close their eyes and plug their ears. However, in the real world, things don't work that way. Their cover-up is even worse than the crime. It's pitiful. Instead, they're doubling down and hoping that we're all too stupid to notice. But guess what? We do notice, and we're not buying what they're selling at this point. I'm beginning to question whether the WNBA is allergic to success because they have a superstar on their hands who has the potential to elevate the league to new heights, and they're treating her like she's radioactive. This isn't just bad business. It's a slap in the face to all of the fans who have been pleading with the league to improve.
They have the highest audience they've seen in 24 seasons in the WNBA games. Televised games with Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever averaged 1.18 million viewers compared to 394,000 for all other games. There were a record 22 games that averaged over 1 million viewers, 19 of which involved Caitlin. So, I mean, you'd think they'd be saying thank you. They're not saying thank you.
In the end, they're not just failing. They're burning it down and hurling it down a cliff. If they don't get their act together quickly, they may end up without a league to mismanage. The excuses must end. Just when you thought the WNBA couldn't get any worse, stop the bullshit and start thinking about Caitlin Clark as the asset that she is. To show them what they're missing, Caitlin and Clark arrive. Have you ever wondered what it looks like when a league intentionally works to undermine its own success? Let's face it, Clark is rewriting the entire playbook, not simply altering the game. Clark is more than just good. With record-breaking viewership and an arena packed to capacity, she is a basketball supernova. What is the NBA's response? They are behaving as though she is a problem child rather than the savior they have been praying for.
There's no respect to Caitlin Clark, and it is blowing my mind, and sooner or later it's going to cost the WNBA everything.
The figures are crazy, people. This season, 22 WNBA games have attracted over 1 million viewers. Can you guess how many of them included yes? Caitlin Clark is 19. When compared to other WNBA games, Clark is the main attraction. However, this is when things start to go crazy because sponsors are finally realizing how profitable these games can be. Since Clark entered the league, the number of sponsors has increased by 60%. You would think the WNBA would be celebrating, but they aren't. And let's not even talk about what she has done for the Indiana Fever, who were the league's doormat before Clark arrived, now have over 300% more fans. Overnight, Clark transformed them from a punchline into a must-attend event. The WNBA's overall game attendance has nearly doubled compared to the previous year. If you believe that's a coincidence, please know that the Clark effect is in full force. She's altering the entire game, not just filling seats.
Caitlin Clark is a superstar, not a female superstar. She is a superstar.
We were coming to see Caitlin Clark play.
She moves the needle. The WNBA has been looking for someone who moves the needle.
By comparing herself to Larry Bird's, Clark is demonstrating that women's basketball can be extremely popular on television. Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson's influence on the NBA were discussing how women's basketball became a mainstream sport, and some WNBA players are responding as though this is a terrible thing.
Please give me a break.
The WNBA needs to quickly realize that Clark is not their enemy, but rather their greatest ally in achieving success. The current season's viewership figures are the highest the WNBA has seen in over 10 years. Think about that for a moment. Clark is not just moving the needle, she is breaking the machine, and that is the real threat to the status quo. She is demonstrating what the WNBA could be if it got out of control. People on TikTok. The ticking of the clock, the WNBA is at a crossroads and must decide whether to learn from their mistakes and support Caitlin Clark or to continue playing pointless games and watch their league fail. It's not that hard, people. The future belongs to Clark. Since Caitlin Clark is a phenomenon and not just a player, they are acting as though she is the issue. Let's face it, the WNBA needs to move quickly to implement the program or they will be left in the dust, wondering what hit them. If you agree, please leave a comment, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you don't miss anything. We'll see you in the next one after you click the video on the screen.